In my last video, we retraced Céline Cremer's final GPS points, a trail that led beyond the Philosopher's Falls and ended high on a rugged hilltop late in the day. During that search, my goal was to test whether parts of the hill were blind to the cell towers, areas where Céline's phone might have dropped out of range, possibly revealing where she travelled after her last GPS point. But since then, I've learned that the cell towers in the area have been upgraded, and coverage has improved significantly since Céline went missing. With that new knowledge, it's time to refocus, to return to her last known movements and build out a new plan from the ground up. Before we head back into the field to face some of Tasmania's most inhospitable vegetation, there's critical evidence hidden in her phone logs that needs to be examined that I believe will be essential in understanding where Céline went next. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much to everybody who watched my last video and sent me in your thoughts and left comments and all of that stuff. The response was overwhelming. Like, I never imagined that it would reach so many people and have such an effect. We've got a lot of people, dozens of people who have volunteered for the search in December, which is incredible. So thanks everybody for everything that you did. Now, there was a lot of people who questioned why I didn't take into consideration the possibility of Céline's phone going flat at around 4:18 when it gave off its last GPS points. Now, the reason is, I did mention this in the video, is that the phone continued to give off cell tower pings. Not GPS points, but cell tower pings. So it was in contact with cell towers for up to 3 days later. Now, this information of the cell tower pings I've been combing through a lot the last couple of weeks, because I think there's a lot to be gained by actually analyzing these. So we know that Céline's GPS points were laid down in a trail starting at 3:32 and ended at 4:18. Now, the interesting thing about these points is, while they have the time that they were created, the time that they were actually received by the server gives us hints as to when the reception was available to send this data back to the towers. So in this column here is the time that the data was received. We can see here that this was 4:09, and the points received are the ones from 3:32 until 4:07. So every single one of these GPS points was relayed back to the server at 4:09. Now that means that at 4:09, when Céline was halfway up the hill, there was a point of contact made where she had enough service to relay that information back to a tower. Now, what's interesting about that is the exact same thing happened again, this time with another 13 data points. These were sent at 4:17. So we've got 4:09 and 4:17. These are the only two times that Céline was on the hill that she was able to transfer the data back to the towers. And these happened while she was still creating GPS points. The next packet of data was not received by the towers until 3:35 a.m. on the 19th of June. Now, in this packet of data, we got Céline's last 4 GPS points, which show her going into the horizontal and rebounding out. And we also got a heap of cell tower pings. Now, these cell tower pings are time where her phone has come in contact with a cell tower, but not enough to relay that information back to the tower. That only happened at 3:35, again at 8:02 that same morning on the 19th. There were 2 bits of data relayed. Then it didn't happen again for another 24 hours on the 20th at 8:12. And this was the last time Céline's phone made contact with a tower. If we look at the amount of times that the phone made contact with towers for the day of the 18th and the day of the 19th, I'm just going to put them up side by side here so you can see. Okay, so I've just created those 2 screenshots. Now I've put the timings into brackets, and what I find really interesting is that For the 18th and the 19th, which were the 2 days that we have full 24-hour periods of communication with the towers, the times that the phone came in contact with the towers is almost identical. We can see here that we got contact from 8 a.m. till around 8:30 a.m. on the 18th, and we have about the same pattern for the 19th, 8 a.m. until 8:28, and about the same amount of times that the phone came in contact with the tower. Then we've got a brief period at 9:20, and same again on the following day around 9:28 instead of 9:26. Then on the 18th, once again, we've got a cluster at 11:26 onwards, and on the 19th it's 11:29. We've got communication made at 3:30 on the 18th, and we've got communication made at 3:30 on the 19th. Then on the 18th at 9:30, and same again on the 19th at 9:30. So what I find really compelling about these side-by-side comparisons is that it says to me that it's almost 100% positive that the phone was immobilized. The phone was sitting in an area consistently for those 2 days after, and likely the exact same thing would have happened if the phone had have had enough charge to get through the day of the 20th. Unfortunately, the last data was given at 8:12 on the 20th, and the phone must have died thereafter. If Céline had have been mobile, tracking through the bush, up and down certain things, there's no way that you would get this exact same side-by-side comparison like this. To me, this screams a mobile phone sitting in the same spot and the cell tower emitting the same pattern day after day. It must have a strength from 8 to 8:30, and then every now and again throughout the day it sends out just enough signal to hit those really outer reaches. So the next question is, where would Céline's phone have been lost? Well, we know that Céline made contact with the tower twice on the way up to the hill. So to me, it's unlikely that she backtracked or tried to backtrack all the way to go back down that hill, because if she had have done that, she would have made contact with the cell tower enough to send data back the same way that she did twice on the way up. We also know that when Céline left the car and walked around the water race, she never made contact with the cell tower once. So that to me says that there's little to no coverage around the contour line of that hill and below it. We know there's coverage above that on top of the hill. We assume there's no coverage around that contour line. So Céline's phone would have to be somewhere between no coverage and coverage. So what I've done is I've taken Céline's GPS trail that led up the hill late that day, and I've overlaid it onto hillshade topography. So this gives us more detail in what the actual landforms are made out of, as opposed to just a standard contour topography map. And we can see here, as she made her way up the hill, the red flags that I've marked are the times that she made contact with the tower enough to relay her data back. So we can safely assume that coverage on the top third of the hill is sufficient enough to make contact with the tower. Anything below that, like around here where you see the water race contour line, was not enough to make contact with the tower for over an hour that Céline had been walking around there previously that day. Another really interesting observation I've made is that as Céline tracks her GPS points up the hill, there's a huge gap for over 100 meters as she makes her way south across it. Now the only reason I think that might have happened was if Céline was using Google Maps and she made her way up the hill, as it becomes open, she doesn't need her Google Maps anymore. So she switched it off, or put her phone in her pocket and made pace across the hill. It wasn't until she started coming down the hill again that she pulls out Google Maps and starts to navigate her way into that patch of horizontal. If that patch of the hill was good enough for Céline to put her phone away on the way over, it was also good enough for her to put her phone away on the way out from the horizontal. And if that's the case, it lines up with her losing her phone somewhere, because she's seen the horizontal, she's stowed her phone in her pocket, she's walked up onto the hill, she may have come down the hill a little bit and then lost it somewhere. So what does this information really tell us? Well, basically, it means that Céline was not only navigating in the dark, she was also navigating without her phone. She would have at some point realized that she didn't have her phone on her, and I doubt that she would have wanted to spend the night. It had just started raining according to the old weather records, and it was going to continue to get heavier. I think that around 4 or 5 o'clock, she would have thought, I've still got hours to get back to the car. I'm going to do it because I've got my bed there ready made. I've got food and warm clothes, and all I've got to do is find the track, find the water race, and then I'm back to the car. So I think she made a dash for it. And I think what it means is we've got to search the hillside to the east and the south of the hill a lot more than I initially thought. Okay, so we've got a nice break in the weather today. I'm out here with my dad, and we're going to be doing search number 4. Now, this is going to be based on the eastern side of the hill that Céline went missing. And there's a few good spots there that haven't had a lot of search dedicated to them. And that's where we're going to be targeting today. Little did I know, Tassie was about to serve up its finest patches of horizontal scrub. And to top it all off, this was Dad's very first taste navigating through it. So just looking, we've passed the Philosopher's Falls steps, and just looking at some of the thicker patches of horizontal on the extended water race walk. And it's kind of important, I guess, to at least note that part of what was stopping Céline, if she made it this far from the top of the hill back to the water race, was these patches of horizontal. They're like a barrier that kind of border the water race and just above the water race. So they're really kind of dense areas that need thoroughly searching, because Céline could have been quite close to getting back to the water race at night, and you'd never know because of that vegetation up there. And that's the hardest stuff to search. So today's goal will be cross through here, search this gulch, and then target this area here to the east of the hill. Yeah, this is awesome. Now I've got the torch on. When I look under logs and stuff, I can actually see if there's anything hiding under there. You know, like if anything was in there and dragged out or left behind, I'll spot that type of stuff now. It's a bit more open out here, and then we're gonna sweep around to the left and target this little section. I'll come towards you. All right. It's a pretty cool patch of horizontal in here. Yeah, this spot still needed filling in. And after a couple of hours, another good chunk had been covered. What is it? The split?
Oh, look in here.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like you could stand up in there.
Yeah.
Grabbing the shoulder.
It's just a matter of finding something like that.
Yeah, if you stumbled on it. I'm thinking like with the SES and everything, and she's in pitch black, so we can pick our tracks. So when she finally stopped, you know, it was going to be a hard place.
Yeah,
But
she probably didn't make it down this far from the hill.
That's right.
Yeah, it's probably up closer, but this is just a spot that kind of needed checking out. And
But really, there's no going back because it's pitch black. So you're not going to go back to where you started.
no, it's inconceivable.
So she just had to hope she was going to come out and keep going, and hope against hope that she came out on the...
But even being in here for like 20 minutes, you realise how thick it is and how easy it would be to lose direction.
We could pass her by like a few metres and...
Yeah, exactly. Yep. The sentiment was shared. This side of the hill was pretty thick, and the chance of cutting a clean line down to the water race would take a lot of luck. So we've just ticked off that area there, and Dad's just said that where he is right here, said he can't see any prints or there's no moss being disturbed or anything, so there's a very good chance that this section is unsearched, and we'll get into that right now. So we've got quite a stretch of it, just as messy as the last patch. Horrible scrub. One thing's for sure though, Céline came off that hill somewhere, but out here, until every bit of ground's been combed through, there's no telling where. Where are you, Céline? Yeah, you see, like, all of this ground is really challenging, but there's going to be patches in between this stuff. It's hard to believe until you see it firsthand that such a confined area as this one hill could contain so many hundreds of variable pockets of vegetation. I'm going to cut through this horizontal here. Be so careful because some of the branches appear to be good, and then you tread on them and they cave in on you like that. But you just never know, like, underneath what I'm walking on could be where we find a clue. Sorry? Yeah, it's all proper horizontal. And look, I mean, you can understand why, if Céline had to come down the hill, she never made it to the water race, yeah? If we make our way up towards the top of the hill from here, it'll give us an idea on what she was up against when she left the hill. So there's Céline's line there. If she had have turned back where the thick horizontal was and tried to strike it on a more easterly level, she may have come down here into this patch that hasn't been searched. So I think we go up here. Oh, it's crazy. It's like, it feels like it just gets thicker and thicker, which is kind of unbelievable. Because it's already so dense. Just up here. Yeah, someone's been through here. You can see a few marks. Looks like that's the end of the horizontal. Okay, so we've come up. That's today's line. You can see her last pings are up here, those red markers. Everywhere else is my searches and SES, but we basically come directly up from the water race, and all of that and all of this, it's all really thick horizontal. It's a barrier, it's definitely a barrier, and it's definitely in the line of where she wanted to head, so it's worth noting that it's like that. It'd be very different if it was clear all the way back to the water race, but it's not. It's an interesting area here because it's a lot more open, but it's also a lot more dangerous. It's quite steep. There's a lot of drops here. Yep. See, this would naturally funnel her down.
And she would be thinking, 700 metres of this, I'm going to be down the bottom. Except like the horizontal is the prison wall.
Yeah. But still, following this down naturally, you kind of... You might be pushed over this way, but you could also go there. So maybe we'll take a side each and just follow it down.
The more I learn about this hill, the more I realise how big of a job this actually is. I estimate that on average, only 5 square metres is visible at any given time. So to walk a line of 100 metres, you would cover approximately 500 squared metres. This hill is about 1 kilometre by 1 kilometre, meaning there's 1 million squared metres to search, which by my average would take 200 kilometres of walking to successfully cover, which at the end of this video we'll map out and we'll take a closer look at.
But you just never know what you'll chance upon. So we're about halfway between the water race and the hill. We're just filling in this area here now. But we're going to have to get out of here soon because it's 3:10. So we'll give it another half hour or...
Yeah, that's fine. Let's keep going, man.
Yep. It's not too bad going in here. There's an interesting spot here.
Where you are?
Yeah. It was one big stick. I picked it up and it snapped because it's so old.
Yeah.
But that was sitting across that log like that. And then when you look at this area, see how it's kind of like a junction? So you've got...
Yep.
That's clear there, and then you've got
Yep.
through here looks kind of enticing too. And I don't see any.
Well, it's a big moss carpet here, isn't it?
Yeah. So you look at this through here. This looks like the type of. Wow! Look at that. Upturned tree. This looks like something she might have navigated through. I wonder if she passed through and left that thing.
Well,
alright, we better head down to the left. We'll cut through this bad stuff. The hill's on our right. The hill's on our right.
up here.
Yeah. Just down this way. Well, that dark blue one's today's efforts. Done a lot on the east. No result, but we had fun. And it's a little bit less ground that probably needs to be done in the future. You're thinking she might have overshot it?
Yep. In the dark, we kept going down there.
Yeah.
Between Search 4 and Search 5, a small but important detail was brought to my attention. The inaccuracy of Google Maps in depicting the Philosopher's Falls track. To this day, and at the time Céline was relying on Google Maps for her return to safety, the map shows a non-existent path I've since labelled the Ghost Track. When overlaid with accurate topographic maps, it becomes clear that this route does not actually exist. However, since Céline would have had to likely travel over the real track to even reach the supposed ghost one, it's unlikely she ever found it, though it remains a detail worth noting.
Okay, so we're out here for another search today. We've got Dad and his mate John tagging along, so there's a couple of things we want to check out today. First of all, there's a good section of the south side of the hill that kind of needs going over. And there's also the ghost line from the Google Maps app, if we get time to do that as well. But before we do any of it, we're going to go actually up to the top of the hill, and just because Dad and John haven't seen that section, and work through a couple of theories, potentially on Céline maybe finding a different line from the top of the hill to get down to the southeast where she wanted to head towards the falls. So got a little bit of a walk to get up there, and then I'll switch you guys back on. So you can see here, this is some devil's scat. It's got quite a lot of fur in it and bone. So that shows that there are devils up here. So we're going to turn off the water race here. There's a good track that I found last time that is relatively scrub free, that goes up to the hill. So we're going to try and follow that up just for the easiest way out. Now when I say scrub free, it's scrub free for this hill, which is this is about as good as it gets. You can see where you're going.
Last time, Monday, there wasn't a lot of colour.
Alright, so today's line is going to be black. And you can see we've come our way up the hill. We're about 70 meters from Celine's line, which is buried under my blue search lines. That's Celine's line there, so we're almost up the top. Yeah, just where I am, we're almost on the direct line that she took through. Yeah, there's a lot of markers up here. There must be it here. There's pink and then another green one. So this is east of where Céline turned, but it's also a bit southeast as well. It's not in the open east out there. This is more southeast. So this is a potential that Céline would have redirected through this, but this is not too dissimilar to what she turned around at over there. So would she bash through this? I don't know. Maybe she would, because it's open beyond. As you can see here, it's once you get past that first little pinch of horizontal, it's open here. This could have been inviting to Céline. This could have been the alternative route down the hill she was looking for. Makes sense. Definitely makes sense. And while she's making her way through this stuff, she's dropping her phone somewhere around here. Scrambling down the hill. Now, I've obviously searched pretty well straight down here, but not all of it. Yep. How'd you go?
Yeah, I'm just thinking that a 420.
Yeah.
Okay, so she lost the GPS. Last was just over there. So 420, and I'm thinking that there's still enough daylight, like, to figure out the trees. And
Yeah. She would have been drawn back up here, I think.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, like, she probably went, if she was trying to get back to the tail race track.
Yeah.
And then diverted off down here somewhere.
That I have thought that too, but I think there's a higher chance that she didn't want to go back to the water race. That's why she left it. I think she'd come up here and look for a better line in the direction she wanted to head back to the car.
Yeah.
Well, if she's going back to there, she's just heading that straight way, isn't it? Straight
Exactly.
through. Yeah.
But she was barred by the horizontal heading south off the hill.
So if we went, is this our area had been checked like this?
Yeah, it's
Gridlocked?
most of it around here, yeah. Closer to the hill has, but as you head south it becomes a bit more sparse.
If she had another navigation device in her bag, like a compass, I mean,
Well,
she would go for the direct route, and keep bashing through the bush.
Well, it's interesting because that little theory I went and had a look. So she was heading south, rebounded back out. So I went southeast to see what that's like.
Okay.
There's a tiny pinch of horizontal, but it's clear behind it.
Okay.
So you can see that if I get through this crap, I've got a clear run of it. So to me, that's where she would have been drawn.
Yeah, and she still had enough semi-darkness to decipher trees, to get round them, probably for, even till 5 o'clock.
But if that's the case, you kind of have to say, okay, well, you follow the lead down the hill where it's open, past the horizontal, heading southeast, and then you just see where the funnel takes you.
Yep. Okay. Well, we should go with your gut feeling.
Come and have a look at it and just see what you reckon.
So what do the green markers mean?
I think they're all just the SES kind of traces.
So we're heading southeast, aren't we?
We're heading south off the hill now.
Celine's last known GPS point was...
Here? That green marker?
No. Was right in here. This green marker here it must be. And what's that say? End waypoints. Yeah. 207. So yeah, she stuck her nose in there. It's very thick. She's come back out here and she wants to head back to the light. So this was the last known GPS point. She's not going left because the left is the same as south. It's super thick and remember it's dark. It's really dark. So you come out here where it's more light. And now she's retracing her steps back the way she came, getting naturally funneled by this. And remember, her goal was to head southeast. So she's coming up here. It's still light. She's still getting drawn by a little bit of this light. There's an opening of light out there. And that's why I think she heads east and then heads south. I'd imagine there would have been it would have been really dark on the ground, and the sky in the sections where it's light would have been kind of a lighter grey but still dark. But on the ground it's enough that if you dropped your phone and you don't have a flashlight, there's no way you're finding it. In which case, what do? Do you wait in the spot you think you lost it? Or do you say, I was halfway home, I've got to go down the hill and find the water ace, and then I'm back to the car? If she came over that, she probably could have kept it in her pocket here and said, I don't need it yet, I don't need it. Okay, it's still pretty open. There's nothing stopping her from heading down the hill from here. It's all open. And she knew roughly the direction, so why not just put in the groundwork and walk it out? I don't know, I feel like there's a good chance that Céline came back this way and that her phone would be anywhere between her last known GPS point and this section here. If she wanted to hug super close to where that bad scrub was, she could have come along this point here. Just got to figure out where she dropped her phone. Like, so she's still walking this way. It's nice and clear. You don't need your phone yet. Technically, he's still pretty good. And straight down, like, it's not that big of a bumper. So her last GPS points were the red dots. Today's line is the black line. We've shifted over to the southeast and we've got a clear line now. So between us and the falls, 600-700 meters.
Pretty well committed.
Yeah, see, the natural passage is barred here, so heading down, even that log plays a big part, you know?
Yep.
Did she, oh well, if she had stuck to the higher ground, no, see, even, she wouldn't have gone through that, I don't think. I'll go, just hop over this just to make sure there's no phone on the ground, but I feel like, oh, you've been through here? See, if she did cross this way, she's sticking to the high ground because there's nothing to invite you to start heading down the hill. So you're not going that way at all. You're just going straight through here where the little bit of light is. Down here. And then you get into the thick of it by the look of it. Little patch there hasn't really been investigated. I'll wait until those guys make their way here and I'll head through that patch, because to me this is still very much a natural instinct to follow down here. But the problem that I have with it is at some point around here where it gets thick, you're going to want to be pulling out your phone to see which way to head. So Céline most likely didn't have her phone on her at this point, which means the phone is in between here and where her last known GPS point was. This is where the narrative definitely gets a little bit more confusing, because you start to be surrounded by the scrub. You got to take it on regardless. There's no more clear line.
Except you've got gravity.
You've got gravity, but what Céline most likely doesn't have at this point is her phone on her. So she'd pull out her phone to check her direction before she starts heading through the thick bush, at which point she realizes she doesn't have it. So where is it? We should have walked over it. See, this is the real shift. See how thick it gets all the way around.
Yep.
So you can be naturally drawn down that line that we followed, but then to make the extra commitment from here in, it's a lot.
Okay, so.
But anyway, it's a pocket that hasn't been searched, so I'm just dive head first, I guess. Say if she was coming down here, there's this little passage that she may have taken. Someone's definitely been through here, because it's all crushed here. These sticks here have all been smashed, and that one there's been snapped. But what do you do when you're in this spot? 150 meters from the top, yep. About 150. So we've made it down into the open section, the designated search section. Peaceful little guy, isn't he? So we're a fair way into this southern search area. We're only about less than 200 meters from the falls. And you can hear it, you can hear the water pretty well from here. It's in this direction. Is that enough to guide you through this open forest? I don't know. If it is, why didn't Céline make it out?
So she tried to make it to the falls. So she would still keep about, if she's in there, she would still keep going. No problem there.
Yeah, I think if she made it to this open forest, she's home and hosed.
Yeah, no. But I think that at some point, maybe, you know, it might have been 8 or 9 o'clock at night, she said, okay, I'm just going to have to wait till the morning. And then just try to keep herself warm and shelter. And then died of exposure. Maybe she just thought, okay, I'm not going to make the car tonight. I can't keep going. I got to go into self-preservation mode. If it's pissing down rain, I got to find shelter.
So now 100 meters from the falls, and it's quite loud. The water is quite loud here. So we've pretty much finished for the day. Zeroing in now on that last little bit. Today's line obviously being the black. And another 6.8 Ks added. Unfortunately, no sign of Céline.
With every new search, new information is logged, and despite the lack of clear success, the case itself is strengthening. It's only by standing on the ground that you begin to understand the nuances of the terrain Céline was facing. Now, combining all the searches, it's time to update my thoughts on where Céline's most likely to be. The hilltop itself, where so much attention has been focused, now feels less likely. The same odds apply to within earshot of the falls and 500 metres from the main road, and anywhere beyond the natural boundaries of the 7 Mile Creek and Arthur River. These zones I give a 10% chance. Hard west of the hill to a specific point which we'll get to in a minute, and around the northern section of the hill, down across the water race but stopping at the main streams, I give around 20%. Around the south of the hill, my early high favourite, is around 50% searched now, lowering its likelihood to around 30%. That leaves the great unknown, the southwest, towards the road and White Hill. Given the evidence suggests Céline's phone wasn't used in the following days, and the lack of sunlight as recorded, Céline's only real guide may have been sound, distant traffic accelerating up and around the White Hill, and possibly amplified by wind. It's easy to imagine Céline moving in that direction, drawn by the faint hope of reaching the road. That area now stands as the most likely, roughly a 40% chance.